Morena tātou katoa. Good morning, everyone. I invite Tame to open the meeting with karakia, please.
Tēnā koutou, atamari kia koutou I tēnei ata. Good morning on this final council meeting, I believe, I hope I'm right, for 2023. And it's a special meeting because we're getting close to Hana Koko. That's why you can see these beautiful lights and all the glitter. And I want to go home and do my tree to make it better than my neighbour. And their lights I see twinkling when I look across because I'm trying to, I think we're having a competition to see who's the best lights. But I've used a bit of one-check technology and I think I'm getting ahead. E te atua kaharawa, koe nei mātou e tuku whakamoemeti kia koe, kia pāmai te aroha I runga I a mātou katoa I tēnei rangi. Arahi mātou I runga I te aroha me te rangi Māori. Kia kore e kōtiti I roto I ngā kaupapa hohonu o te kaunihera o Kerikeri roa. Tēnei te mihi ki te manu kāhui, ngā mema o te kaunihera, ngā ringa rau pā ki muri, ngā kai hāpai hoki, ngā mema o te kaunihera, me ngā mema o ngā new pepa e tuku I ngā kōrero atahua koa I rungi I te pepa o Waikato. Tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou katoa. Nō reire e te atua. Koe nei mātou e whakawhetai ana kia koe I rungi te ingoa tō mātou kai whakaora. Ake ake. Amen. Thank you everyone. Have a great day. And keep singing and keep smiling.
Nā mihi mahana kia koutou kua hui hui mai I tēnei rā, nā kaimahi, nā kai kaunihera, me nā tangata katoa. Te rangi Māori e me te whakaro pai ki te wā hararei. Good morning. Welcome to members of the public, staff, elected members, and greetings over this holiday season that we're coming into. This is the last meeting of the year. It's not that we are going to stop work immediately after this, though, because we've still got another week of business to do. But I do want to say a couple of things in prefacing this last meeting by way of thanks for the hard work that the staff have done this year, setting us up for some of the most important conversations that we have in a 3-year term. Thank you, staff. I know that at times you have put in long extra hours to give us the information that we need to make hopefully good decisions for the public to consider in the new year, because I hope that they don't sit down and make this their Christmas or holiday reading, the long-term plan. But I do think in the new year, we work together as a community to understand the issues we're facing. I do want to thank my elected members. I have found it an absolute pleasure and privilege to work with each and every one of you. I value the contributions that you have been bringing to the table, the collegiality that we share together, despite political differences, the fact that we can put those aside, sit in the lunchroom, enjoy a lunch together. And today I am, to thank you, I have commissioned my daughter, because my hours are so few at the moment, to make us a selection of beautiful treats for morning tea. So that is my way of saying thank you to you for the work that you've done. And to the general public, we always have public coming to our council meeting, know that we appreciate the public taking an interest in what we do. And that you are welcome. This is your place. It's a place of democratic decision making. So you are always welcome in the chamber. So to all those people on Zoom land who are watching the last council meeting, I do also want to say to you, thank you for the engagement that you've had with council. Please continue to engage with us. We will always have debate with many views, but touching out to the community and hearing back from them is one of the most important factors. So, nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa. Good. That's it. So we'll go to the apologies. I have apologies from Milena for partial attendance, apologies from Kesh and Ewan for early departure.
Yeah, Paula, in addition, I need to pop out at 5 to 10 for about 15 minutes. I apologise. I have an appointment that I couldn't get out of.
Yeah, I remember you telling me. Thank you for letting us know. We'll try and coincide morning tea and various bits and pieces. Yep. Thank you, Councillor Van Oosten, Councillor O'Leary. All in favour? Confirmation of the agenda is as confirmed. Are there any declaration? Oh, I'll so move. Angela will second. All in favour? Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest?
Just to note that I think Councillor Donovan and I will excuse ourselves from item 10, which is in regards to independent commissioners, as we feel that it's probably not appropriate as a commissioner to be involved in that broader discussion.
Actually, I think you make a good point, and may I suggest that all of the councillors who are registered as commissioners abstain from that item. And Angela, I think. And have I missed anyone else? No? Okay, that's cool. If you are a registered RMA commissioner, please abstain from that vote. Thank you, Ewan, for reminding me of that. Okay, so we'll move straight on to the Chair's report, which I'm going to pretty much take as read.
Sorry, could we just confirm the minutes?
Oh, sorry, I haven't confirmed the minutes. Going back.
I'll move.
Moved. Seconded. All in favour?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you. Now I'll go on to my Chair's report, which largely I'm going to take as read. But, and I've already said my thanks to everyone that we work with, and I mean those. I will just say that in terms of this year, it's possibly been one of the most. We've had a couple of other challenging years. We certainly had a challenging year when COVID came to visit, but this would be one of the most challenging on many fronts, partly the financial pressures that we all face as a community, as a council, and partly the just relentless churn of work and work coming out of central government and changes. And I feel like sometimes we've zigged and zagged our way through this year trying to adjust and respond to so many governmental changes and other factors that it's been quite a tiring year for all. I do hope that everybody here gets a really good break. I think you probably can hear it in all of our voices how tired we are at the end of this long year. Because when we come back, well, some of us will be back in January, but when we come back as a whole in February, March, April will be some of the biggest work months that you're going to face in this term of politics. So, yeah, in terms of just the only other comment is there comes a time when drafts are put out to the public, and that is their time to really digest what we're talking about and have their say. So, as I say, there again, I do hope that the members of our community do not spend their entire summer holidays delving into council business. But next year we do want you to consider what we have proposed, and we do want your feedback. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you. Let me just see if there's any questions. Oops. Deputy Mayor.
No question, just comment.
Yes, absolutely.
Look, I just want to thank you, Mayor Paula. You referenced the process for the LTP in your Chair's report, and I have to say I've been through, I think, 5 of them, and never have we gotten through the work in two formal days. So I want to thank you for your leadership, because I do think that even though I was a little bit hesitant at the start with all the Chairs meetings that we had and the variety of workshops that were put together, I think that helped immensely. And then the leadership that you took during that process as well to put forward a draft, I think that made a huge difference, because as I said, I've not ever sat around the table and done an LTP in effectively the formal part of it in 2 days. So thank you for that, and I hope you get a break as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I will move my report. Thank you, Ewan. Appreciate that. All in favour? Carried. Okay, so now we're going on to item 7, which is the Ashurst Park reclassification. And I think there is a motion coming, Amy. Is anyone speaking to that? Staff, or is it just coming? Just to preface this while staff are coming, this is not a decision for future years. This was a decision that we took this year, and it sits in this year's budgets. I just want to make the point that we're not talking about future budgets here. We're talking about work that we undertook in this financial Yeah. Or will take. And thank you, staff, for all that you've done, and especially going back out to the Pukete community and spending time with them to really understand how they felt about it, so we appreciate that.
Tēnā koutou. My name is Amy Haycock and I'm a Parks Planner in the Community Services Unit at Council. With me today, I've got Maria Barry beside me, the Unit Director for Parks and Recreation. And down in the gallery, I've also got Declan Callery, the Project Manager for Project, who may be able to help with more specific project technical questions. The purpose of the report is to bring you information that was requested at the Community and Natural Environment Committee meeting back in October, and to seek a decision from the Council on the proposed reclassification of the area of the park that's alongside the Ashurst Ave location. The report covers an assessment of 3 options, including a recommendation to support option 2A, which is the standalone Te Rapa Sportsdrome option. Please note too that there are a few parts within that staff recommendation today, so that includes the declining of the current reclassification process and also the commencement or approval of commencement of a new reclassification for the proposed new location, the standalone Sportsdrome site. Otherwise, I'll take the report as read and happy to take questions.
I have 1 minute. Yeah, thanks, Mayor Paula. Thanks, staff, for the work. I gave a heads up that I was going to be asking this question today. So I wonder if in hindsight, having now landed on what I think seems a very sensible recommendation, what learnings do you feel you could share with us in terms of the process, the journey, and how you would improve that next time around?
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Absolutely, there are many. I think a couple of the key ones that I would point to are that in this case we followed the process that we'd used in other reclassifications. Sometimes consistency is a really good thing, and sometimes we need to be a bit more bespoke with our approach. Some earlier engagement with the direct neighbours would have been helpful, and certainly we will take those learnings onto future projects.
Thank you.
Any further questions? No, shall we put up the motion? Angela? Yeah. Angela, since you've been working closely with the community on the community kitchen cafe, would you like to just explain to councillors the intent, please?
Councillors, first of all, it's basically the staff recommendation. I've just added D in there. I think elected members would want to see a detailed design when it's ready to come back to us. And I understand that while the business case spoke to a commercial type cafe, I've spoken to...
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
I spoke to Maria, and I understand from speaking to the manager of P&H that the cafe was always to be a social good cafe, so revenue from it could go to delivering more programs, etc. So that's what I've put in D, and we'll see that when the staff bring it back at the appropriate time at a briefing.
Any questions on that, councillors?
For no extra cost.
Yeah. Yes, Sarah.
Thank you, Mayor Paula. In terms of that issue, is there any opportunity for the Reserve and Community Endowment Fund to assist with that kitchen if it doesn't fit within existing costs, or do you
The Reserve Endowment Fund policy is due for review, and that will be coming back to Council in the new year, so perhaps that would be an appropriate time for that discussion.
Yeah, okay, thank you. What? Oh, I don't know. 8 million or something. Thank you for that, Maria. And the other thing is, so option 1 was slightly, the estimated cost was slightly higher than option 2. Was that, and currently does option 2 include the kitchen?
So absolutely, option 2 includes a kitchen that would enable Puketi Neighbourhood House to do their program of school lunches. It's bigger than what they've got.
But not something that opens out to
But
work
not
as a
a
cafe?
full cafe. The footprint does provide space for a community lounge, which we anticipate a space for a smaller coffee cart type scenario, but I believe Deputy Mayor's motion would bring that detail back to a briefing so councillors would see that detail.
Okay, thank you. And just, so the 8,375,000 versus 8 million for the standard option 2A, had we already budgeted for that estimated cost for option 1, or is it higher than what we?
You had budgeted for the $8.3 million and there was some external funding component to that.
Yeah, okay,
Councillor Donovan.
thank you.
Oh, good morning. Thanks, Mayor Paula. Just in regards to Social Good Cafe and school lunches, does that attract any central government support as well? I'm just keen to know or is it just a fully funded local community type operation?
So the details of the operation of Puketi Neighbourhood House were included in the first business case, and essentially that school lunches is both a community service but also a revenue stream for the neighbourhood house to enable them to cover costs and deliver programs. The notion of a cafe, whether it be for a social enterprise, originally was designed to increase their capacity to make revenue. Under option 2B, the size of that cafe would be scaled back because you wouldn't have the foot traffic. But certainly it's an option to explore with Puketi Neighbourhood House. If there's events on the park and those sorts of things, they would be able to provide a service of some sort.
Perfect. Thank you, Maria.
Okay, no further questions. We will go to the debate. And as the mover, Angela?
Yeah, thank you. As Mayor Southgate said, this is budgeted for, and in actual fact, it's been in the pipeline for over a decade. The reason I wanted to direct staff to include some space there, indoor-outdoor flow for the social good cafes, I think it's such a great idea, and I don't believe that it needs any destination playground beside it to be successful. You only have to look at the volume of programs that Puketi Neighbourhood House deliver to understand that. What resonates with me as well is Councillor Wilson rightly said through our LTP process that what should be in our top 5 are fit for purpose community spaces, and we had that discussion through when we got the TOTI proposal. So that still resonates with me in my mind. I think there are many people out in the community that depend on the programs and services that Puketi Neighbourhood House delivers, including myself, Scone Wednesday, which if you haven't been, elected members, you really should go. It's a snapshot of the diverse community that are the heart of this Puketi Neighbourhood House and the services that they bring. So for me, look, I'm super excited. I hope that the Chamber supports this today and we can get on with looking after what we've got and delivering that fit-for-purpose community space that is desperately needed. And I do want to thank staff for going back. This responds to the concerns, particularly in those the residents that live in Ashurst Avenue. This has responded to them. So this council and the staff have done a great job in that respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor Southgate. Yeah, look, I'll be wholeheartedly supporting this motion. I want to thank the staff for the work they've done and the conclusion that they've come to, and which hopefully we have come to as well. This is a victory for the people around Ashurst Park who went through a lot of stress over this, and even to the extent of someone involved having to move his house. And it's a victory for the democratic process because the community mobilised, and they made their views clear to us, and that made us a real difference in this process and the outcome. And I just want to say to that community that I'm sorry it's been a tough journey for you, but we got there in the end. And I think there have been issues with the process, but I'm not going to dwell on that. It hasn't been perfect by any means. But I don't want to also hammer staff because they're acting on our direction as governors originally. It actually came from us rather than staff. So, but we've hopefully come full circle. So I congratulate the residents for their determination. I responded to a phone call from John Miller and went out to his house one day, and in the lounge there were about 25 people there, and it was a real surprise. And that was the first of 2 or 3 meetings I had out there. And I thank the residents for getting me to understand their views on the issue and why they felt it shouldn't go ahead, and the depth of passion for their neighbourhood really came through. So I thank them for that. And I also thank Tama Potaka, the National MP. He got involved and he was very helpful. So, we got there in the end. Thank you to staff, and much happier with this outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hart.
Thank you. First up, I want to preface what I'm going to say by acknowledging I'm going to support the motion. And I accept why we have landed here for a wide variety of reasons. Something that struck me, though, in reading this report was how the option we are choosing, though, is a less accessible option than others, or has a higher price tag if we were to pursue it becoming a more accessible option. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. I accept where we are going with this and where the new building will be. But I also just want to acknowledge that I hope that we continue to work towards making highly accessible community facilities, because I know how important the work of our community houses is, and I know that it is, a true representation of our communities who use them, and that includes disabled people. And so I didn't want to let this motion go through without acknowledging the significant descriptions of accessibility in the report and the large price tag that would come with making option to a more accessible. But I certainly hope that we can find space in the future to work on making where the premise will be more accessible, and hopefully also build it into the decisions that we make into the future, because everybody should deserve to have easy access to what is a really important community asset. Kia ora.
Thank you. Anyone else? Otherwise I might add. Oh, sorry, Sarah. Go.
That split second. Just briefly also wanted to thank the Puketi community who have made sure that, we have actually understood your concerns, and and I went out to the site to visualise where the building would go, and I could absolutely see why you were concerned about it, because it is a beautiful site and it's a treasure within the community. So I do thank you for all of what you've been through to get to this point. I want to thank our staff as well for all the work that you've done to bring back to the options, and finally Puketi Neighbourhood House. You do amazing work in the community, and I'm so glad that we are going to be able to get going with this project and support the mahi that you do as well. And I do hope that there were some suggestions around being able to improve accessibility of some of the paths without going the full, to the full extent of the brand new $1,000,000-something path. And so I'd like to see those options brought back to us if it involves a little bit of extra cost, just so that we can consider that, because that's obviously a really important consideration as well. So yeah, I will be supporting 2A today. Thank you.
Councillor Kish was next, I think.
Thank you. Echo much of what's been said already. Thank you to the community for embracing the process, for your patience with us as we went through this very long process. And like Councillor Jeff just said, you know, this is democracy in action. We've heard what you've said, and Council has listened. So, you know, you often hear about Council never listening to the public, but this is case in point. So thank you, community, for your voice, for using your voice and for telling us what was important to you. Thank you to Puketi Neighbourhood House also for being accommodating to the community's view, because I do know, you know, it isn't the ideal option that we started with, but this is the option that works for everyone. So thank you. Thank you to our staff. I know you've spent countless hours on this project over many, many, many months. Thank you, Helen, Maria, and team. The one thing that does stand out for me is, yes, the community house and the larger community benefit, but on the flip side is the benefit for sport and recreation, and that the Te Rapa Sports Dome will be better utilised. We all know how short of indoor court space we are across the city, so this will allow us to have more space. The cafe, I am looking forward to it. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for popping that last bit in there, because I remember early conversations where we talked about a cafe eventually almost leading to a self-sustaining community house with funds from a cafe. So I think there's more to explore in that picture. And the last thing I wanted to just acknowledge and thank former councillors Dave McPherson and Mark Bunting, of course, for their work before this term and all the work that they did leading us to this point. Thank you. I will stop there.
Thank you, Councillor Naidoo. Councillor Pike.
Thank you. Look, I acknowledge this has been a really long process, and I just want to thank, firstly, staff for the efforts throughout. As Councillor Kish mentioned, there's been a lot of hours put into this to try and get it right. But that did come from the community, and I want to thank them for their patience and their advocacy in trying to get this project right. And I think option 2A will ensure that we have considered the will of the community and will ensure a positive start to this project. I wholeheartedly support the overall project and can see the extensive community benefit this would have not only for the residents of Puketi but also the wider Hamilton community. And as the Chamber has highlighted many times before, we're in dire need of community spaces, so I really look forward to this helping fill that space. I'll be supporting the motion today. I'm looking forward to seeing the full design and the many benefits that I know Puketi Neighbourhood House and their team will deliver to our community, as they have done for many years before. And I just want to thank them for their tireless efforts in supporting the people of Hamilton. Yeah, so that's me. Thank you very much, and I'll support the motion.
Thank you. If there are no more speakers, I'll just add to the debate and just say thank you to the community for raising the issue. We've heard loud and clear that you support a robust community centre in your area, but the location didn't work, and we've responded to that. Support the comments from Angela around staff who were tasked with governance to work with the Puketi House to come up with some options, and that original option on Ashurst, closer to the road, was one of the options which we then discussed as a council, the merits, the pros and cons, but what this reminds us of, and I'm a massive fan of this, as has been shown through the process on Te Keti Aranui in Rototuna, that when we take a community-led approach, the outcomes are very much better because everybody buys in heart and soul to their community facility. I do want to thank Councillor O'Leary because I did think the Social Good Cafe was a really good concept. It's not a brand new concept, so we know that it can work. Te Araho had a very successful full-purpose cafe for many years, and I could give you some other examples. But what's really important about that is if it works well, not only does it enable people in the community to develop skills around hospitality, which is another adjunct, and bring people together, it also potentially raises a small amount of revenue, and given the huge number of programs and activities that Puketi House delivers from substandard facilities at this point in time, I think any additional revenue that they can bring to help them would be more than welcome. So thank you, Angela, for looking at that issue with fresh eyes, and the Puketi House as well. Thanks, staff. It's a little bit of good pre-Christmas news, I think, that we can move forward in a direction that the staff can buy into, the community can buy into, and we as elected members can buy into. Thank you, everyone. Right to reply, Angela.
Thank everyone for their comments, and circle back round that this is about the community. Puketi Neighbourhood House have been delivering for 30 years to our community, so let's hope this is at least another 30. So thanks everyone for their support.
Thank you, and we'll go to the vote on the board, please. And the green tick at home, thank you.
The motion's carried unanimously.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you. I hope that the Ashes residents that are here today take that as a pretty good Christmas present for the community. All right, we will now move on to item 8, the infrastructure strategy direction. Who's speaking to this one? Stafford. Good morning, Stafford. I have to say, here's a topic, just before we start to preface it, here's a topic. When you say the word infrastructure to our general community, I think sometimes their eyes glaze over, because no matter how you spin it, it's not a very alluring story, infrastructure. Of course, the chair of infrastructure and transport loves it. She dreams it. She dreams it. And Chris Hallam. But I did say the members of the public, Deputy Mayor. And, you know, when you first start down that road. But what I want to say is infrastructure is the backbone of this city. In fact, I think, Angela, you said that to me when you had been in your role for a couple of months. You said, I wasn't sure I was going to like this, but there's so much that influences the progress and shaping of our future city that I really love it. And I think that's a great testimony to it. I just want to say a couple of prefacing comments. It's also going to be one of the biggest financial pressures that we face over the next 3 decades. So, Stafford, on that, I look forward to your comments on the strategic direction for infrastructure and being able to support it.
Morning, Mayor, Deputy Mayor and councillors. That's a really great introduction that leads me to reflect on, I think it's interesting too. And if you haven't read the infrastructure strategy, it's actually a really good read. I don't know if that says more about me or more about who wrote the last version, but... this one or the Infrastructure Commission or both? Oh, both.
Yeah, absolutely,
both.
Brilliant.
So this paper here is quite short and just seeking some direction from this chamber on how we should progress with the drafting of the infrastructure strategy. While this is the starting point for coming to you on this particular iteration of our infrastructure strategy, by no means is this the starting point for where we're developing infrastructure in Hamilton. There's so many documents that the infrastructure strategy will be based upon, not the least of which the current infrastructure strategy. This is a long-term document. It's a 30-year document about where we're going with our infrastructure in the city. So 3 years on from the last one, we're not throwing everything away and starting again. And then alongside that, there's been a lot of good strategy work and really good planning and detailed work from our subject matter experts. I think if you reflect on this current term, you would have heard throughout about all of the new information that we've been gathering about things like flooding impacts. You would have heard about approving HUGs, about Access Hamilton being refreshed. So there's a lot of really good direction that we already have to go on to base this infrastructure strategy. With that, I'd like to ask if there's any questions.
There's a question from Deputy Mayor O'Leary.
Thank you. And it's a brilliant document. Stafford, we met earlier in the year with James and we talked through my desire to have a bit more policy around as we approach the end of life of assets, and obviously top of mind at the time was founders, muni pools, and now we're celebrating age. I know that in the asset management plans we have the length of the life, the maintenance and renewal required and all of that stuff, but what I was trying to do was lift it a little bit out of the politics and into more of a principle-based approach. And you suggested, and I'm talking about community assets more than anything else, and you suggested that that could be strengthened in the infrastructure strategy. Is that the working group here, or working with consultation that's in the recommendation, and I'm on that, is that, are you going to come, I guess two questions, Stafford. A, have you considered that in the review of the strategy? And B, will you be bringing to this group a sort of a draft already done with that included, if it's included?
That is a totally appropriate level of consideration that should live within the strategy.
Yeah.
And that will be something that we'll be bringing to the review group to see that drafted document already.
Yeah.
Okay. I think what I would reflect on is that asset management's getting a lot better at local government across the board, and Hamilton is no different on that. We started off with some of the sort of bigger, more prominent, core infrastructure, and now we're getting through past that into a maturity stage where those considerations around our community assets are becoming a sort of a little bit more tangible and real. So I'd hope that through this iteration and through future iterations of our asset management planning, we just get better and better in that space.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
So just a question. Oh, sorry, Kesh, you're first. Apologies. You got your hand up?
Yep. I had a question around, I can see the strategies that will be considered from a community perspective, so aquatics, nature in the city, open spaces. Will this encompass community infrastructure, as in community hubs, community houses? I'm thinking about Glenview and Enderley and the like that go beyond the 10-year plan.
It totally includes all infrastructure, including community assets. One thing to just remember is it's a higher level strategic view of how we treat these assets, and it's not the definitive direction on every asset at a detailed level. Does that help you?
Yep, so does it include new assets? As in?
Yes, it
does. Or is
does.
it just taking, okay. In those areas that I mentioned, like Glenview and
those details of new assets will be informed by existing plans and provision policies and strategies where they exist.
Awesome, thank you. Thanks, Mayor Paula.
Thank you. Just my comment is, oh, sorry, I did it again. You did, Councillor Thompson.
Thanks. Stafford, just looking at page 8 and 9 of the existing strategy, and it's got that quite helpful bubble chart thing where it shows a timeline of when we need to be considering various infrastructure investments. Something I'm interested in is there a way, if we're going to do something like this in the next document, is there a way that we can kind of prioritise stuff that maybe is not funded, but somehow, highlight the stuff that we would say is number one in terms of next cab off the rank, or whatever we would, in terms of prioritisation? Because if you look at it, there's a huge amount of unfunded stuff, in the next 10 years, for example, up to 2033, and then but it includes things like the Northern River Crossing, which we're not even talking about right now, but then it also includes, other things, which additional wastewater treatment plant, which we're moving on with quite quickly. If that makes sense, it feels, so then when you look at it, it's hard to know, well, which ones of these are the most critical, or,
I think the infrastructure strategy has to do one really important thing, which is tell the entire picture without filtering it. We need to have a really good basis to have discussions with central government on. I hear your desire to bring in some rationalisation of which is sort of next cab off the rank, or a lower priority. So I think I'll be able to work with Andrew and the rest of the team on how we might be able to bring that forward in the strategy for you.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to ask a very broad question around the alignment, because I mentioned the really good strategy that the Infrastructure Commission has. I presume you're going to keep a sort of a consistency with that to some extent, some of the macro data that they've provided, and in terms of overall direction for some connection, because I think they set out the overall direction required for New Zealand, and we're part of New Zealand, and we need to be cognizant of the big picture as well as our local picture. Is that your intention?
Yes, Mayor. To be honest, there's not a lot of time to write this, so we're not starting work from scratch. We're going to go borrow from all of the relevant documents, and the Infrastructure Commission strategy is sort of at the top of the hierarchy for New Zealand.
Brilliant, thank you. So we will now go to the vote. I'll so move. Or did you want to move because you love it so much? Angela will move and I will second. And we'll go into the debate. So there you go.
I'll keep it brief because we're whizzing through the day, aren't we? Look, I just want to, if you haven't read this, it is a really good read. There's lots of pictures in there, and it does paint the picture of how important infrastructure is, and literally how it is the foundation of a city, a growing city. What I'm seeking through it is that I absolutely acknowledge that politics plays a part, particularly in community assets, like Founders, like Muni Pools, like it will with Celebrating Age, and it does get in the way of good asset management. So I'm seeking an approach through the infrastructure strategy that lifts a little bit of the politics out of it, so that when an end of life starts approaching, like for example Puketi Neighbourhood House of a building, that we start planning, we start popping that budget away, and then we take the politics out of it so it doesn't take 8 years to make a decision. And I know that I've obviously, with Founders, was involved in some of that delay. We don't do everything on our own in this chamber, so the majority rules. But that's kind of what I'm seeking, and the staff were really helpful in talking me through, because initially I thought, well, maybe we need a policy for that. But so that's my intention, and I think the staff, and look forward to working with them.
Anna, thank you for. Are you still in? You're still in the sunny Florida, and you've taken the time out to talk to us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. I'm not sure if my sound is working. Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay?
we can. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge the work that goes into the infrastructure strategy. I agree with Deputy Mayor Angela that it is an incredibly important document and important to get our heads around. I also just want to acknowledge the staff in terms of their, I guess, willingness to acknowledge the issue of affordable housing as part of the infrastructure strategy. It wasn't mentioned in the last one that I could see. So it's just great that there is I guess, a more evident commitment to enabling affordable housing through the work that we do at council. So just wanted to acknowledge the staff for that. Kia ora.
Very much. Any other commentary? I said some things to preface this, but I just want to make the final summary point before Angela gets right to reply if she needs one, which is that this is actually one of the most critical strategic plans that we will do. Because without this, we can't build the future of Hamilton. Without this, we can't build the houses that we need. Without this, Kesh is quite right, we can't build the community centres we need. We can't deal with Three Waters. We can't deal with resource management reform. Without infrastructure, we literally would come to a grinding halt. So I want to thank staff for all the work that they've done in the background to deliver what I believe will be one of the best long-term strategy plans for infrastructure in the country, because we have got some hugely talented staff, and I do want them to know that we appreciate them. We'll go to do you want to reply and talk? No? Should we go to the vote? Oh, gosh, I've just leant on my keyboard. Vote for this, please, councillors, with tick or on the board. Thank you.
The motion's carried unanimously.
There you are. What I'm proposing is we go through the Commissioner one, and then we take a morning tea because, you know, goodies have been provided, and then we'll plough through. Is that okay? Independent Commissioner hearings. Oh, significance engagement. And then the commissioners, and then we'll take a break, which would be somewhere in the next 20 minutes. Okay. Significance and engagement policy. Also, one of those things that you wouldn't want to do is light reading over Christmas, Mish. But thank goodness you are a person with fine attention to detail, so we appreciate that. And Dan, you could just about sell anything, I think. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Said that in the cheap. Quiet in the cheap.
Thank you, Mayor. The significance and engagement policy is a requirement under the Local Government Act. Staff have recommended some changes as part of the review, but otherwise we'll take the report as read and answer any questions.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Let me come to the discussion. Councillor.
No, it's just a question. I think we may have got a... I hear you over there. It was just when we report on the level of significance, I think we do a bit better than we have in the past around clarifying it for the public. But for the ordinary layperson reading the document, I've even in my past life read a council document and thought, why is it saying that this is not significant when, you know, I personally thought it was? Is there some way that we can clarify that a little bit more when we're doing that assessment and we're writing the report for the public? We're not saying the issue isn't significant, it's more a technical assessment around engagement required.
The answer is yes, we can take that offline, and I can have a chat to Amy about and
Thank
Dan
you.
about how we might make that a bit clearer.
Thank you.
Councillor Pike.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just looking. It's great to see that we've highlighted Māori engagement, but I just wonder whether there's a space to consider the migrant community, and whether there can be some sort of detail in there that we're able to engage with them in forms that they regularly relate to, or in a way that applies to them?
We can. We do refer to Māori in the policy because, not because it's a particular ethnic group that we're trying to pick out, but because there is a requirement in the Local Government Act for councils to engage with Māori. What the team have tried to do in putting the document together is, and it probably comes through more in the discussion about communities, is to try and recognise that there are there's subsets of the community within the within Hamilton City, and that when we're doing communications plans, that the audience gets looked at in that light. From a policy perspective, we'd probably recommend against trying to pick out more communities, because then we kind of get into this discussion about migrant communities, people who might be disabled, or so we're kind of getting quite specific about the subsets of communities. I guess I'd recommend staying more in the principal space, and saying that that when a team is looking at what they're going to do, that they understand the communities that they're trying to reach. So for the by-elections, for example, we work very closely with the Migrant Centre to make sure that people for whom English is a second language, they understand the opportunity to stand and also to vote. That's just an example of how we put that into practice.
If you look at paragraph 11 in the policy, it says that we'll consider language, accessibility and cultural needs in any engagement. So that's the direction that the policy sets, and then through the comms and engagement plans, that's where we look at the different audiences that we need to reach.
Okay, yeah, just as long as there's room in there to, consider them.
You can raise points of debate if you want to, Emma. Councillor Anna Case-Cox.
Just a quick question in regards to, what Councillor Sarah was talking about. How is the level of community interest in something or in any topic determined? Is there something I could read on that, perhaps, how we determine that?
So determining community interest isn't an exact science. There are the way that staff would generally assess something is using the schedule at the back of the policy that gives staff some guidelines to indicate whether something is likely to be of high significance or not. And I would also say that elected members will have their own sense of how important something is to a community as well. And that kind of interaction with staff and looking at engagement can happen as a project's being developed.
Thank you. And just a question in regards to strategic assets. I guess I was interested in the list that is provided in the policy. I just wondered if other strategic assets might be considered. Like, I didn't notice Waiwhakariki listed, or the gully or lake, for example. So I'm just interested in how they make the list, or how something is considered a strategic asset. Again, I might need to look at another document.
So strategic assets are defined in the Local Government Act.
Okay.
And they're, I guess, in some ways, it's not an exhaustive list, but it's reasonably hardwired. So, for example, the regional airport is defined as a strategic asset under the LGA. And they're caught by certain provisions, so you can't actually deal with them unless they're provided for in your long-term plan. What I would probably say is the likes of the lake and Waiwhakariki might fall into a significant activity area.
Yeah.
But you know, there's no particular exhaustive list. If it's something that you want to look at, I guess the only thing I would say is that if you identify something as a strategic asset, for example, then you are hardwiring decisions on those into the LTP process a lot of the time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that understanding.
Just an answer to your previous question, Councillor Anna. Our team does keep tabs on community sentiment through the quality of life surveys that we run. If you recall the community profile data that was presented to elected members early on in the LTP process. So that's how we keep our level of awareness of what the community is interested in.
Okay, thank you.
Any more further? No? We'll go to the debate. Is there any debate? I will move and Deputy Mayor will second. Now is there any debate? No, we'll go to the vote. Oh, is there? No, that was from before. You want to debate, Anna? Sorry, do you?
No.
That's all right.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Right.
Thanks for pointing out because I don't always see the hands. So let's go to the vote on the board, please.
The motion's carried unanimously.
Thank you, everyone. We'll just do the Independent Hearing Commissioners one, which shouldn't take too long. And then we're going to have morning tea in a minute. So there's not a lot to discuss here. Those that are commissioners are vacating their building. No, they're not. They're just vacating the room. They'll probably eat all the Christmas snacks before we get there. Straightforward, happens. Do staff want to talk to it? But it happens once. How often? Once a year? To reconfirm? Every 3 years. We just review the list. These are all people that are trained to be commissioners, includes the councillors that are trained to be commissioners. I, therefore, am happy to move it. Can I have a second, Councillor Van Oosten? Thank you. Is there any discussion? No, but I can say they're going to be darn busy next year. And we'll go to the vote. Thank you.
The motion's carried unanimously.
Thank you. Because of there's a bit more, a few more goodies available in the council room, I will take a 20-minute. We're going back at 5:02, so that we've got time to eat with that. And we invite staff, please do come and join us for some Christmas cheer. We're now on to the future of local government and the special, the LGNZ special general meeting that you would have all been aware of in the beginning. I'm not sure what you need to talk to on it, Mish, but just give us the outline, and then because Moko and Angela have been, and Angela cast a vote on behalf of our council, she might want to talk about the outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. There really isn't anything else to add other than I'll hand over to Deputy Mayor Angela to give an outline of the voting.
It was interesting being online with 70 odd plus politicians. You can imagine we spent the first part of 10 minutes going, oh, my technology's not working. Are you there? Hello? It was fascinating and quite funny. But but we did get there in the end. And on the five things that we voted on, and I cast our vote obviously in support of them, there was pretty much build a new system of government fit for purpose passed by 93%, rebalance the country's tax take by 97%, for local government, create stronger, more authentic relationships between local government iwi, past 73%, align central government, regional and local priorities 93%, and strengthen local democracy and leadership 87%. So overwhelming majority was passed. And that was it.
And that is her story. Okay, any questions on that? No, we had a good conversation before. We'll go into voting unless there's some debate. But before we do debate, I'll just say one thing. Thank you for Moko for being one of the Te Maruata representatives on the local government, Future of Local Government Advisory, and for Angela representing Hamilton on that Future for Local Government Advisory in Wellington. It certainly helps me in lightening my load because I'm on a number of other things in Wellington as well. And your input has clearly shaped the future of this document, so thank you very much. Let's go to the vote. We're doing it on the board. Yeah. I haven't heard that song in ages, Ewan.
What's that?
I haven't heard that particular Christmas song in ages.
The motion's carried unanimously.
I must be listening to the wrong radio station. Okay, the next item is, Mish is in control of this one as well. Of course, we've been through this conversation quite a lot when it comes to our own local government elections, and this is a by-election. I'll ask Mish just to briefly refresh us on the differences, and then we'll go to the vote. And I'll be happy to propose random.
I'll second.
Oh, okay, thank you. Either or, yeah. Okay.
So you have the opportunity before each election to decide the order of candidates on voting papers. This is different from the order of candidates in the candidate booklet that goes with the voting papers. So that is always in alphabetical. So we're talking about the actual voting document where you rank who you want to vote for. So alphabetical order is alphabetical pseudo, I can't say that word, pseudo-random order, I should be able to, is where it's random but all the voting papers are still the same, and then your genuine random order is basically every voting document has a different combination. There's the only research that's been done on this has been an Auckland paper that was done back in 2019, and you have the link to that in the agenda. So unless there's any other questions.
Any questions? I feel like we've been here and done this before. Max?
I just understand that there's no difference in the cost to the city in any of those
options. Yeah, there's no difference in cost. Thank you.
All right.
I'm happy to move random order.
I've already moved it. You have to be speedy quick around here, Emma. But that's what we're moving now. Have you got it up? Do we need it up? Do we need it up? Just, yes, because I was just being reminded that at home when you're listening to the live stream, you don't always get to see the motions and understand. We can go quite quick. So this one is approving that the candidates' names for the East Ward election happen in a totally randomised way, which is the fairest. And just don't want to debate it. To me, that's the fairest. End of. Okay, let's go to the vote. Oh, you do want to debate? All right, cool.
Clearly the most logical way, either by first name or second name.
Yeah, those of us at the other end of the spectrum might say differently. Oh, Ewan Wilson, he'd be particularly upset.
Armstrong won many elections because it was alphabetical.
Let's go to the vote before we dig ourselves a hole. Let's go to the vote. Thank you.
Motion's carried unanimously.
Right. Recommendations for open committee meetings. Are there any? Safety.
Receiving 2 of the
Just receiving 2 of the reports as there. The safety and wellbeing report and the rest. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Seconder, anyone? Yep. Councillor Maxine. All right. Any discussion on these? Shouldn't really be. All right. Let's go to the vote. Car pipe.
The motion's carried unanimously.
Thank you. The late report. It's not on my.
It's not on here, it's just on the run sheet.
All right. Okay. On the run sheet, there is a late report, the audit engagement letter, which James is going to update us on. Yeah.
Yes.
Morena. So the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that I'm not Tracy, and also I don't have an audit engagement letter to run past you, but let me explain where we've got to on this. So ordinarily, by this stage, we would get an audit engagement letter from Audit NZ, which sort of sets out the details of the audit of the long-term plan, and then we would sort of sign up to that and get council or strategic risk and audit committee to sort of approve that. What members of the Strategic Risk and Audit Committee will have heard last week is that the Office of the Auditor General has asked for those letters to be put on hold for now, and we think basically that's just whilst we await what comes out of government in terms of what's announced around Three Waters, what the knock-on effects are around what that means for long-term plans, what that means for the audit process, what that means for the timescales, etc. What that probably means is at some point in the next week or so, we'll hear some kind of announcement from government. Probably shortly after that, we'll get some kind of letter from Audit NZ detailing how the the audit process will work. And what we're proposing is that Mayor Paula and Chief Executive have the power to sort of sign up to those conditions in the short term, and then we'll bring to the first council meeting in the new year a sort of summary of where we've got to with Audit NZ and what that means, and council can sort of sign up to the audit process at that point. That's about as much as we can say for now until we get some white smoke from the government around what the LTP process is going to look like, and then what the knock-on effects are for the audit process. There's probably not much more we can say, but I'm very happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions, councillors? No, James, you see, it was straight to the point. Thank you very much. Is there any debate? Well, I just moved the receipt of the verbal report at this point. Isn't that what I'm doing? No, hang on. Yeah, there's more. I won't move it because you're delegating me, so I'd prefer that. Thank you, Councillor Wilson and Councillor Van Oosten. Thank you for that. Well, anybody want to debate this?
Just checking the Chief Executive is able to read white smoke when it occurs. Didn't you say we're waiting for the white smoke? It's a...
I did.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will.
Usually when you appoint a pope, you've got to interpret it, whether it's white or black, and I'm just checking that you're qualified to interpret white smoke. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go. Yeah. Let's go to the vote, everyone.
I love the internet.
You've got that song stuck in my mind, Ewan. You've got
Councillor
that song
Cash?
stuck in my mind now. I'm starting to hum it.
The motion's carried unanimously.
Thank you. We'll have someone move us into public excluded.
I've just moved it.
Oh, thank you. Councillor Wilson has moved it. Councillor Hutt has seconded it.
I'd like to speak.
Would you? Yeah. Okay. Is there any debate on moving into public excluded?
Thank you. I just want to take this opportunity to appreciate the governance team. Yet again, I think they've done an amazing job for us this year. I want to thank Amy, particularly the baking that you keep providing for us does not go unnoticed, both in terms of how yummy it is and the reflection on our waistlines. So thank you for that. But your whole team, it just makes our life so much easier, and I couldn't come to the end of the year without wanting to acknowledge that. That was it.
And I think we'd all join in thanking you for your... Thank you. We'll go to the vote. Is it coming up? Vote is coming. Training. Cool. Thank you.
Motion's carried unanimously.
Right, somebody move us out of, you've moved, somebody did, out of public. Oh, that was